Good evening, world. Welcome to the Doc and Lefty program, broadcasting to you from moist, damp, rainy Des Moines, Iowa. This is Lefty coming to you with the perspectives you love from the sides you hate. And across the table, as always, the main man with the plan, just don't call him the coon, Dr. Petrosh. Doc, what's up?
You know, not much. I often like to say just my weight, not my IQ. But
both are down?
But both, I'm gonna issue this challenge.
Yeah.
Because I think my IQ is up.
Yeah.
And my weight is the same.
Oh, man.
I was just into the doc the other day.
Oh, okay.
But I'm going to issue this challenge to you. And we should throw Maddie in on this one so at least we have a patsy.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
Challenge you to lose 10 pounds.
I've already done it.
From here.
Oh, from today?
From now.
Today? Yeah. I'm down about 15, 20, my friend.
Oh, yeah, I know. You're doing really well. But I need some kind of challenge. So I figured 10 pounds.
10 pounds? How long do we have to do it?
What do you think? A month? 6 weeks? What? Till the beginning of August.
10 pounds in 4 months? I think we could probably handle that. What do you, I mean?
Well, no, well, because we want Maddie in here because she's pregnant.
Oh,
right. So
I did not know that.
So
is that something that you were allowed to disclose on the air?
Yes.
Okay. Well, congratulations to our wonderful producer, mom-to-be, Maddie Kane. Way to go, Maddie.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Good job. And good job, Maddie's husband.
Yes.
So,
Mr. Kane.
Mr. Kane.
Right.
So anyway, I figured I'd throw this challenge out.
Yeah.
And
I'm down.
Here's the thing. 4 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever it is, winner has to buy the other one dinner at wherever that person chooses.
Okay.
So.
I'm down.
All right.
From starting today?
Starting today.
Okay, I'm going to have to actually.
And this is on the honor system.
Yep.
And usually, I will tell you, if you're dealing with a liberal, you can never do the honor system. But there's always exception to the rule, and Lefty is it.
Well, you know, if I get caught lying about my weight now, I'll never.
You'll never be trusted among the fatties again.
Nope, never again, because they'll know that I'm just some closet
skinny guy.
Right.
Yeah.
Something like that.
A closet thinny.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what the derogatory term for there aren't very many derogatory terms for people who are in shape.
You know, we ought to have a show about that. How come we can't make fun of skinny people? You know,
because we all secretly want to be them, my friend.
Yes, that's true.
Well, they're aspirational.
And I'm going to rat out our DJ Maddie G yet again. Mm-hmm. She lost a ton of weight.
Yep.
Right. She was really happy with herself, doing well, and then she got pregnant. So she came in one day and she's like, "I did all that work for nothing." Isn't that right, Mad? She says, "It's okay. I'm doing good." She's got the thumbs up all the time.
She'll take the change.
She'll take the change. So anyway, well, our condolences go out to all the men's basketball teams that biffed it here this week.
Well, one team biffed it.
Yes, one team
biffed it. My beloved Iowa Hawkeyes advanced to the second round of the NCAA tournament for the first time in 14 years and lost to a very good number 2 seed Gonzaga team that is looking like it could go to the Final Four.
Yeah, and that's true. And then you and I, they did pretty well, except they came up against the Louisville team.
Yep.
That was very good with a lot of experience. And I think that panned out because when I was watching the game, you and I would start coming back, and then all of a sudden they start hot dogging and blow it. And then they and so that was just a lack of experience there. But the one that did biff it, the Cyclones, went in there
3 seed
and choked it.
They choked.
They did.
And you know what? I'm glad they did. Good job, Cyclone team. You made me a very happy Hawkeye. Yeah. I promised myself I wouldn't say this on any kind of official record, but it was very cool to see the three Iowa State schools in the NCAA tournament. It was very cool.
It really was.
It was good for the state. It was good for college sports in the state of Iowa. But I mean, my hatred for the Iowa State sports program runs so deep and is so admittedly irrational that even when something cool happens, like all three state schools going to the tournament, which is cool and positive and everything, joyful and whatever, I can't be happy for Iowa State and a lot of schadenfreude when they lost. I have to admit it. I'm not proud of myself, but it's the one lizard brain irrational hatred that I permit myself in my lifetime.
Well, and that's good. And, I was hoping the mayor would take them all the way. And there was a lot of people, nobody had Iowa winning. Nobody anywhere had Iowa winning.
No.
But there's a lot of people, including one ESPN analysis, that guy, the guy that talks about sports.
Right.
Thanks. Had you and I going all the way. So, they at least had a chance. They just went into Louisville. I thought they were going to have trouble with Villanova, but they had trouble earlier. So anyway, now that we have rational hatreds put to the side, let's talk about what we're going to talk about on the show. We're going to talk about some irrational hatreds that each one of us
we're going to talk about some rational hatreds.
Well, irrational on your end, rational on mine. That's how it goes. Because you're on the left. You're supposed to be emotional and irrational.
I don't,
You are the pregnant lady in this show.
The folks that talk, it's so funny.
Even Maddie agrees.
Republicans are so, you guys are so deep and so practiced in this Orwellian doublespeak that you don't even know.
Don't even talk to me about Orwell.
What's up and down at this point. If you hear right-wing talk radio.
Did you read my post today from Wall Street Journal? Talks exactly about that. That is amazing. You use the term Orwellian.
You talk about, if you've been following right-wing talk radio or Fox News for the last 15, there is one side of the political spectrum that talks about fear, recrimination, and anger, and it's not the liberals, my friend. It's not the liberals. You guys are scared of everything. You're scared of everything.
You're the one talking about recriminating. You're the one that talks about revenge and people need to go down. All that stuff.
Revenge? What are you talking about?
Bush stole the election. I blame Bush 8 years later.
We went into Iraq as pure revenge for the first time we went into Iraq, and that was under a Republican presidency.
That is complete. That is completely
wrong. How do you square that circle?
Set up. We're coming up to a break, and Blake's coming up to a beating. I'm just telling you.
Fair enough.
Letting him know. But we're going to be talking about several things. Number one on the list. This is, if it seems to be a favorite topic of ours because we agree on it all the time. Republican leadership failures. How they continue to keep choking, yet still maintain a modicum of power. And then the second thing, despite all of the Republicans bumbling and stumbling, the Democrats have yet to truly capitalize and put the spike through the heart of the vampiric Republican establishment. Right? And that's a little dramatic, but I had a patient in today. She was telling me all about some new vampire.
Fair enough. That was pretty evocative.
Oh well, good.
Yeah.
And as soon as I know what that is, I'll agree. So, and then another thing we're going to talk about, pipelines. Now, if any of you guys know anything about us, we're not. I can't say it out loud, but we like Ed Fallon.
We do. We like him a lot.
He's on this kick again where he's walking across Iowa. He's got one shtick that he does. He just walks and does something. Mm-hmm. And on the climate change thing, I kept up with this stuff, and I thought, I'm not really into that. He's doing this pipeline walk, and I'm like, holy cow, that's eye-opening.
Yep.
So we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on there. What was the last thing we're going to talk about? Oh, the Senate letter to Iran and the Iran negotiation.
Things go so fast now that we don't always get to cover things right away after they happen because like a week later. But the Iran letter, I think it certainly bugged me a little bit, and I'm sure that it bugged you given your position about the executive branch. But we haven't talked about it at all, and so I kind of wanted to see what you thought about the whole thing.
All right, yeah, we'll be back right after this break. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We want to thank all of you for taking your time to spend an hour with us this week. We think we're cool, but that doesn't count. It just counts if you guys think we're cool. We want to thank all of our sponsors: Betroshan Associates, Lubinas Law Firm, Halo Capital, Des Moines Interest Rates, Des Moines Anesthesia PC, offices here in Des Moines and in Fort Dodge. You can call them at 515-574-6442. They also do pain management, and I know that's a specialty around here that is in dire need. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Don't forget to visit our website, docandlefty.com. We're also on YouTube. We'll be back right after these messages.
Bertroche and Associates will provide you with a friendly, caring, and confidential place to find help for mental health concerns. We are ready for your call. Our doctor, Dr. J. Patrick Bertroche, provides a full range of psychiatric services for children, adolescents, and adults in a forthright and informative manner while maintaining a casual, comfortable, and relaxed atmosphere.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast 1 Live.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. And Doc, when we were talking about this, when we were planning the show, 10 minutes before we went on the air.
Hold on. That's not fair. Everybody knew except for you.
No, that's because the only way that you can ever get one over on me is by not letting me know what we're going to talk about until I take the mic.
Maddie just rolled her eyes. Look at her. She's rolling her eyes back there now.
I need bigger shoes. I need shoes that come up past my calves if I'm going to start slinging that kind of nonsense. But no, look at her. You mentioned something. Again. Oh, I can't. I'm talking to you. You mentioned something during the break that I wanted to talk about really quick because it's all. What's irritating to me about liberals?
What?
It's irritating to me about conservatives too, but so maybe it's just an objection that I have to Facebook, right? I am getting sick. Liberal friends, I'm getting sick and tired of all of these stupid memes that pop up about different conservative bullcrap. One that has been just inundating my news feed for the last 2 days is this business about Ted Cruz being from Canada, right?
Yes.
And I get it. So there's this big hypocrisy, no one's asking for Ted Cruz's birth certificate and it's the same. Everyone knows it's the same thing. Everyone knows that rational Republicans don't give a crap about Barack Obama's birth certificate. Everybody gets that. So it's this, you see the same kind of thing from both these trolls out there just kind of digging in, kind of needling stuff. I'm saying, have you seen a bunch of this crap? I mean, no one cares. No one cares.
Remember we tried to have that segment, dumbest Facebook meme of the week?
There's too many.
That's the problem.
There's too many.
We get ready. We come in. God, how can that get dumber than that?
Yeah.
So,
Ted Cruz, where's your birth certificate? I don't know. It's probably in Canada. My mom was a U.S. citizen.
I thought he had already produced it. And then said, well, my mom's a U.S. citizen. You go.
Right.
And for me, that's an important thing that at least somebody's a citizen.
Right. But that's what's so stupid about it. So I get the fact that people are pointing out, well, Barack Obama's mother was a U.S. citizen. So why all the outrage? The outrage was from a very small group of people that, I don't know, for whatever reason, whether they like conspiracies, they are dumb, or they're racist or whatever. But it wasn't this big. So this blanket attack on Republicans is just dumb. It's unnecessary, and guys, stop. I love you, but you got to stop. You look like morons. Well,
and we get back to, liberals generally look like morons when you try to talk to them. I mean, honest to goodness. At the same time, I'm going to say that there's a lot of ridiculousness out there on the right. Mm-hmm. I want to point that out, and this is rather spontaneous segment.
Yep. And you brought it up, and I wanted to talk to you about it because it was bugging me.
Yeah, but the problem is it doesn't do anything for our discourse. It doesn't move us down the road. Posting stuff up here that's ridiculous doesn't help anything. The bottom line is whether or not Obama was born here in America, he's now president, and there ain't squat that really, we don't have a way of going, well, hold on, we have to go back to 8 years. We don't have a time machine, go back, we have to erase that. It's the way it is now. What are you going to do, get rid of Obamacare? Or if things that he signed are no longer law? I mean, how do you get around that? I mean, and there's a lot of idiocy out there on both sides.
Well, I mean,
and speaking of idiocies,
yes,
Maddie, did you manage to get that? I want to put this up here. We're going to start talking about the Republican leadership right there. That was our most commented on thing.
Yeah, I saw that today. That was pretty funny.
Good. Yeah, I thought so. So anyway, the bottom.
Unfortunately, political affiliation isn't a genetic disorder. It's not.
Yeah, that's right.
It's not passed along.
I just had a call. Maybe it was a listener.
Well, maybe they know how to get a hold of us.
515-244-0077 if you want to call in. I'm going to start reiterating some of the Republican leadership failures that we have had. All right. First of all, we have a Republican-controlled Congress and a Republican-controlled Senate. We're not able to pass a balanced budget at this time. We have a Republican-controlled House and a Republican-controlled Senate. Not a single bill going through that is going to, in any way, impede Obamacare or the implementation. We have a Republican-controlled House and a Republican-controlled Senate whose only thing that they can do is send a letter to the Iranians to make any kind of positive progress anywhere. And truly, it's not truly positive progress when you do that. Whenever you interfere with international negotiations, all you've done is give them firepower. That's what happened. That's what happened when Nancy Pelosi did her tour. That's what's happened when the Republicans sent the letter over there. Now, the bottom line is all those people over there understand that there's no treaty without the Senate. That's basically what it is. The president can sit there and present it, but it has to be ratified by the Senate. And it's very simple. Is that true or not true?
Well, but yes, that's how treaties work.
You have this leadership that has done nothing except, again, provide cover for the Democrats.
Well, don't you say? Well, no, I don't think they did. They didn't provide cover. Well, if they provided cover, it was inadvertent because what I'm saying.
It's like it's not Occam's razor; it's Hanlon's razor, where never attribute to malice. That could be which can be better explained by stupidity.
Yeah.
We talked about that a couple weeks ago.
You're probably not evil. You're probably just stupid.
Yes.
Yeah. But see, this is the thing though that annoys. So we're going to talk about the letter first. That's cool because doesn't it seem like the only person that kind of got a benefit from this whole thing was not the Republican Party, was not sort of conservative, like what certainly wasn't Israel, because it came out right around when Netanyahu was addressing Congress. It was Tom Cotton, this freshman senator from Arkansas. The only guy that raised his profile at all was Tom Cotton. All the other folks that signed it, especially guys like John McCain, are now starting to kind of back away. There's like, well, we're just kind of joking around and we're just poking some fun, blah, blah, blah.
And it makes you look bad.
It makes you look bad, but don't you think that's the central problem with some of the Republican leadership? Rather than being a party, and it's so weird because this is how the Democrats were in the 80s. Rather than being a party that has a coherent message that, other than we don't like anything Obama's ever done, a coherent message for policy proposals, everyone seems like they're in it for themselves. You have your tribes, you have your Steve Kings. You have your Tom Cottons now, apparently. You have your John McCains. You have your John Boehners. You have these little tribes all around the House of Representatives and the Senate, and they're all kind of mixing it up and fighting amongst each other. And so a guy like John Boehner, who the Speaker of the House used to be the guy that could get things put together, get things done. For example, you never saw Nancy Pelosi fail at votes to sustain government funding when the Department of Homeland Security was on the line.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And absolutely. It's because you have all these different tribes in the Republican Party. What do you think about that?
Well, that's true. We've talked about that. Mm-hmm. We've talked about the schism here in the state. I mean, all you have to do is look at the gas tax. I mean, you had fiscal conservatives going like, well, hold on. Well, there's a much better solution to this that's much more long-term, and we don't have to punish the poor people. Establishment says, nope. And you know who's going to pay the price for that gas tax? It's going to be Kim Reynolds. That's who's going to be paying the price for that. What really kills me, though, and this is what we'll talk about right after the break, how come the Democrats haven't been able to capitalize on that and really crush the Republicans? We'll be talking about that and Lefty's response right after this break. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.
Hey, psst. Let me let you in on a little secret. You ready? Always try to do business with people, not places, especially if you seek honest Christian business people. And when it comes to my car, I really need to trust who's working on it. Now, my family is so blessed. A few years ago, we found a family-owned automobile repair shop that operates as a Christian business also. Open, honest, reliable, trustworthy. It's AMCO on Hickman Road in front of Kmart, and it's a family-owned Christian operating business. This family treats your car as if it was their car. Everything from oil changes to transmission repair and everything in between. So the next time you feel the need to be at peace with your choice of who you can trust with your car, give AMCO on Hickman a chance to serve you. And tell them Max sent you. From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast 1 Live.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for sticking around. You know, this is kind of this is old school, Doc and Lefty. This is actually, what was the first iteration of the show way back in the day, back in 2010?
I think it was just Doc.
Yeah, something like, The Reasonable Republican, I think is
what
you were
that's right.
early on.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Back when I was but a lowly guest. But a lowly guest on the Reasonable Republican program. This is the kind of conversation. These are the kind of arguments that we get into. We start bickering back and forth about different things. So we're kind of going.
Missed it.
We're kicking it old school. We've been so on point and so reasonable the last couple of months that I'm
getting sick of it.
I'm getting sick of it. I got a lot of bile in my guts.
Yeah.
And it's time to. I'm going to direct a majority of it at you.
Well, I'm ready.
All right. Sounds good.
I'm ready.
So the Republicans they can't pass legislation. They can't
without Democratic help.
Yeah,
that's what kills you. You're the majority, for crying out loud.
They can't. They get bogged down in things. They shoot themselves in the foot politically in the Senate. All that, this whole Loretta Lynch fiasco makes the Republicans look like morons because you have a political party saying, "Hey, because we can't, we want to stick some poison pill language into a bill that has nothing to do with this poison pill language. And if you don't pass it with our poison pill language, we're going to deny the country an attorney general and keep the guy we hate more than Obama, Eric Holder, in the office." And so we have all of these just like they're going in every single direction except, I don't know, forward. And the response that you had is like, why can't the Democrats capitalize? Well, I guess because at this point, the Democrats have been the party in power for a long time. They've and not just by a long time.
They've had a president for 6 years,
right? But they've even had sort of they've had the finger on the social issue since at least 2006. Oh yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like the opinion polls about certain democratic principles have been the majority, like minimum wage, that sort of thing. They've had that since 2006, but you just see them as they're kind of older. They don't have a lot of juice, and so that's part of it. But also, it's not 2016, and I think that if the Republicans keep doing what they're doing, but the Democrats don't have a youthful, vibrant alternative at this point.
No, they don't. And I will tell you, one of the advantages that the Democrats have is they have a president, and you can either describe him as narcissistic or a guy that has no fear. He just does what he's going to do and challenges the Republicans to say, "What are you going to do?
Yeah,
you come get me." And that's absolutely what the Republicans need, is somebody like that. Instead of running scared from everything, every bad piece of press, they need a guy that goes, "This isn't right, and this is what we're going to do."
And you know what's going to be fun about 2016, depending on who the Democrats decide to nominate, whether it's Hillary or somebody else, is in 2000, the last open seat that a Democrat could run for back in 2000, they wanted nothing to do with Bill Clinton, easily the most popular Democratic president since LBJ.
Yes.
Right? And they ran away from Bill Clinton. And in my opinion, I think it cost Al Gore, because it cost them the only likable Democrat leader in national politics.
Yes.
That's not going to be the problem with 2016. Barack Obama, even though, the Republicans hate him, and his approvals are they've been creeping up recently, but they're still in that mid 40s,
yep.
something around there. Not terrible, but certainly not great. They're not where he was when he got elected. But 2016, you have Barack Obama on the stump. Nothing to run for. Nothing. Doesn't care about anything.
All he's got to do is elect people.
He's gonna energize that Democratic base.
And if you look at the base, what they're upset with Obama about, they didn't. It's not. He didn't go far enough for socialism.
Yep.
The other issue that could hurt him in his base, but I actually think will help him with mainstream America, droning. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the statistics for droning that he has, I mean, he's got. 50,000 kills or something nuts like that, right? The problem is we haven't lost a single American life droning anybody. And that was a big issue, right? Until Barack Obama got elected, they kept the running tally on every left-wing media site about how many Americans got killed. You couldn't get away from it. I mean, if some guy was walking down the street and had a heart attack in Afghanistan, it got listed. So you're going to have a powerful...
Should have been there in the first place. Go ahead.
Well, and you see what happened when we left. You see what happened when we left.
Shouldn't have gone in.
Yeah, absolutely. We should have gone into Afghanistan. Absolutely.
Well, Afghanistan's not the problem right now.
Well, no, it's Iraq because Obama said, well, geez, I promised everybody I'm doing this thing politically and I'm out.
I know. I wish that he hadn't followed through with that status of forces agreement that George Bush negotiated and agreed to.
Yeah. Well, but he didn't put a date down on there. It's his right to go, well,
this is what I'm talking about. This Republican doublespeak saying that Barack Obama was the reason we pulled out of Iraq when that deal was done before he even got inaugurated.
At what point are you going to stop blaming Bush? That's my question to liberals. When are you going to stop blaming Bush and start blaming the people that are in power? When are you going to do that? The guy's been gone a solid 6 years now.
Well, but see, this is the canard that doesn't make any sense to me. How can you say that it's Barack Obama's fault that there aren't troops in Iraq when it was George Bush that signed the deal to get them out and Barack Obama presided over the withdrawal? The withdrawal was going to happen no matter who got elected, buddy. So how can you say that's Barack Obama's fault?
And could go renegotiate. The situation changed on the ground after Barack Obama took charge and did his apology tour across the U.S.
What apology tour?
The apology tour when he said, well, I'm sorry to every Muslim country.
I don't remember him saying that to anybody.
We made all kinds of mistakes. That's diplomatic speak for apologies.
Didn't say that to a single country.
Yeah, he did.
Making that up.
Maddie, go look that up because our computer isn't fast enough and I don't want to look it up on my phone because I'm too dumb.
Fair enough.
But the bottom line is
we're talking.
But why don't? Here's the question we never did get to.
Yeah.
Why do you think the Democrats haven't capitalized on it?
Well, I just told you they don't have any energy. They are old. They've been in power too long.
Well, then my next question is how come they're not appealing to the youth like Obama did?
Well, because
let's face it, that's what carried.
I know.
Carried Reagan and carried Obama in.
Well, but that's the thing about elections after a two-term president. You have a lot of that stuff where you. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. But you have a two-term president, and the party of the two-term president been in power so long, the energy isn't there, and because the energy almost always in this country comes from the opposition. You saw it in 2006, you saw it in 1980, 1979, and you didn't see it as much in those off year, those second term, in 2004 or 2012. But right now, you have the all the energy is on the right, in my opinion, but it's not. The popular Republican candidates are not arguing for things that the majority of the country wants to see happen.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to get back to that about what you don't hear the Republican candidates for governor talking about, and then we're also going to start talking about the letter that. Do you want to talk about the letter the Senate sent to Iran?
We kind of did.
All right. And then we'll start talking a little bit about the pipeline. We'll be back right after this break. Thanks everybody for tuning in.
Bertroche and Associates will provide you with a friendly, caring, and confidential place to find help for mental health concerns. We are ready for your call. We are proud to work with military personnel and their families. Our doctor, Dr. J. Patrick Bertroche, provides a full range of psychiatric services for children, adolescents, and adults in a forthright and informative manner while maintaining a casual, comfortable, and relaxed atmosphere. Our licensed mental health therapists provide individual counseling to children, adolescents, and adults, including couples and marital counseling. Visit our website at bertrocheandassociates.com for more information or call 515-334-9484. Our offices are located at 5525 Meredith Drive in Des Moines, just east of Skate North off Merle Hay Road. Isn't it time to talk to someone? Take care of yourself and your family. Contact Bertroche and Associates.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for sticking around for the first half hour. We're talking national politics, and we're complaining about our respective political parties. We're also complaining about each other's respective political parties and having a great time doing it so far. So, Doc, I guess I don't know. I mean,
well, let's hit this apology tour thing. Maddie did a great job. There's a little ditzel on CNN.com. And we've talked about the apology tour before. You're right. He didn't come out and say, hey, we're sorry. But the problem is when you're the head diplomat of the United States and you start talking about all the mistakes that America did and that some of the things that we did where it might have been arrogant or wrongheaded and the other phrases that he uses, that sends a message that you're not willing to defend what your country did to defend itself. Everybody understands you make mistakes, but when you're up there essentially saying, yeah, we made these mistakes, we shouldn't have done it, and now we're trying to forge better ties. That message is not, geez, we should forge better ties. That message is, I am sorry for what we did. That's how these countries take that. I mean, that's just part of foreign policy. And you have to be very careful with what you say. Now, before everybody goes nuts, he also called the Europeans out for being anti-American. And so I thought, that's a good thing. So anyway, that's what my point, my take from this is. From your side, I understand you're from the left, you apologize for the things and you may admit the mistakes you made. But the problem is when you're talking about foreign policy, you can't admit the mistakes you made.
America's standing in the world had never been lower as it was under George W. Bush. Barack Obama repaired those relationships. He repaired the relationship with France. He repaired the relationship with Great Britain. He repaired the relationship with Germany after he got elected. Now, he tried to have a reset with the Russians, and that didn't work out. But this business and this apology tour business is just, it's tired, it's washed up. And it doesn't comport with the reality of the situation. Well, so we can talk about who the big stick is in foreign policy, but everyone knows it's to us. Everyone knows the United States has the biggest military, the biggest budget, the biggest everything. And so for an American president to come out and say, look, man, boy,
we can't do it on our own.
That war in Iraq that I ran against and got myself elected on the basis of. I mean, you're telling me that he didn't have political capital to go out there and say the Iraq war was a mistake? Of course he did.
Well, in America he does, but just like if Putin were to come to here, he might have the political capital back home to say whatever he says. But Putin over here doesn't have the political capital to say it. And you say that he tried to repair the problems that we have with France and Europe and all that. He didn't. He actually made things worse if you look at it, because we're not being invited to any of the negotiations going on with the Russians and Putin over there. We're not getting invited to that stuff. He backed off on Syria, which
we're the ones that led the sanctions in the first place. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but we're not invited to talk about any of it. They went along. The Germans went along with us.
Like our plan is the one that's in place.
It's not our plan. It's Merkel's plan.
No,
Merkel's plans.
Merkel is it does not make any sense to criticize the president for the fact that a guy like Putin doesn't call him directly. He takes Angela Merkel's phone call.
We're not invited to the table. Americans are not invited to the table when they're discussing the issues like Ukraine. We're not invited to the table when we're discussing issues like Syria.
How are we not? It's our deal.
It's not our deal.
It is our deal.
Merkel is the one that came up with the actual nuts and bolts.
No, she's not. We were the United States, through John Kerry, came up with the first set of sanction packages that started crippling the Russian economy, and it was the Germans and the French that didn't want to go along with it because they need that Russian gas and oil. Okay, the Americans had led on the Russian to the international response to the Crimean problem in Ukraine early on in the very beginning. Now, if we're talking about the ceasefire between the rebels and the Ukrainians, that's a regional thing. We don't have as big of a hand in that because we don't have any national interest in that aside from a humanitarian catastrophe. But we've proven time and time again the United States doesn't get involved in every single humanitarian catastrophe, even though maybe it should.
Well, and the thing, I'm just going to say that that's not how it panned out. And I know that's how the American media portrayed it. It isn't how Al Jazeera portrayed it. It isn't how the Russians portray it. It isn't how
we don't take any perception from the Russians as having any kind of validity or foothold in reality.
Agreed. But you still have to keep in mind these people are saying these things. And the third thing is, and this is the most important one, the Britons don't report it that way either. Britons are our closest ally, maybe even closer. Obviously we have close allies everywhere, so I don't want to alienate anybody. But they're a very close ally. That's not how the BBC reports it. BBC reports that it's Merkel who's leading the charge, because if Merkel isn't involved, nobody else in Europe is going to follow up with that.
No, that's true, but that's not our problem. That's a European problem.
No, I agree with that. So
you and I have agreed in the past that the Europeans are the ones that have to have the will and the guts to stand up to Putin and say you can't do what you're doing. Now, they know that we have their back. NATO requires it. And so the fact that and here's what's actually, what do you think about this? I don't know what I think about this yet, because this just sort of popped into my head. Do you suppose that Putin would be as angry if, as he is at the West, as he calls it now, if NATO hadn't been so aggressive into moving into some of those Eastern Bloc countries?
And yes and no.
Is it really provocative on his part, or is he react? Because remember, one of the knocks on him is that he's just a reactor. He's a reactionary. That's
what he likes to throw out there. Mm-hmm. This is a sharp guy. There's nothing crazy about this guy.
No, I'm not saying he's crazy.
This guy is brilliant and has thought 14 steps ahead of anybody else on the planet, except for maybe the Chinese. The bottom line is the reason the countries from the Eastern Bloc went so quickly towards Europe and NATO is because they had experienced freedom at one point, and they understood the horrors of the communist system. Countries that had been reasonably free before really went to the Europeans. The problem is there are some countries that have always had a despot, the stands in the Middle East, but Belarus, they stayed there.
Correct me if I'm wrong. NATO came together as a response to the Soviet Union, right?
Yes,
and the satellite countries. And I think even if it wasn't a formal thing, and you were more active in this than I was back in back
before you were born.
Well, the late 80s, early 90s yes. When I was a child. But when Gorbachev instituted perestroika and everything started to unravel for the Soviet Union, I thought there was kind of a wink and a nod handshake agreement in the early 90s that NATO would disband. Because the Soviet Union didn't exist, NATO was going to kind of, if not disband altogether, was going to just scale way back, let all these new folks kind of self-determine, and wouldn't be there to be a kind of an aspirational point for the folks like the Poles, and that because they didn't, the Russians felt like they were stabbed in the back.
Well, no, now I'm going to say they probably did feel stabbed in the back. They went from a world power to nothing. And they blamed the West and capitalism for that. When in fact, what it was is the criminal element there, became the oligarchs, and they started running. They scooped up everything that was powerful.
Stole everything they could find.
So they blamed the West for that, when in fact it was their way of doing it that screwed them. The problem is, as soon as the Poles got free, they went straight to Europe and said, "We need your help and your protection. We're willing to do whatever it takes to be part of the EU. Do whatever it is." The Ukrainians did the same thing. The Bosnia, Herzegovina, the former Yugoslavian states, they did the same thing. All these people all these countries that were close, Moldova, Eastern Germany, they all did the same thing. We want to be with Europe. We don't want to be with Russia. And this is an historical thing because Russia has always been the redheaded stepchild in European politics. And when that happened, the new members of Europe's economy all said, we want to be members of NATO because we want that protection. And because of the political nature of this whole thing, that's what happened. We're going to be back right after this break. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We're going to be talking about the pipeline. There's some interesting things I learned about this. So stay tuned for that. I think it'll be an interesting conversation. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast 1 Live.
Get away from us, you mean old credit card. We don't have any more money. We're in trouble now. Save us! Help, somebody save us! Somebody help! Help! Save us!
Hi, I'm Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of Des Moines. If your credit card's a little too animated, give us a call.
Hooray! We're saved! Consumer Credit! You're our hero!
If Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of America was your personal webmaster, Tom would filter out all bad debt emails. If Tom was your mailman, you'd never get any debt reduction junk mail. If Tom Coates was a lineman, he'd block any phone calls offering to reduce your credit card debt.
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America, and we're still your best choice for credit counseling. We're local, we're accountable, and we can do more. You make the call when the time's right for you.
When it comes to competition, there really is none for Consumer Credit of America.
Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for sticking around. We've been getting into it internationally, and now Doc, and this is go ahead.
Well, we were going to hop into the pipeline, but my friend Jason, who is married to Tatiana, a Russian person, the level of paranoia in Russia is reaching Soviet-era levels again. Tatiana's sister, Oya, was not allowed to send the kids toys with recorded voices because it could be used to transmit secrets. I don't care what you're saying. Putin wants to recreate the old Russia, the Russia he grew up with and fought with.
He said that.
Yeah.
I mean, the problem this time around, though, is the reason that the Soviet Union was able to be created in the first place is because there wasn't as much globalization as there is today. Yeah. Everything is interconnected. And I guarantee that if Putin were to consolidate his power into some kind of resurgent Soviet Union, the only person he would be able to trade with would be China. That's it. Even though it would cost the Europeans dearly. And if that were to happen in the next, say, 5 to 10 years, I think that the U.S. would be able to supply a lot of the natural gas for the Europeans anyway. But, especially
if we use the pipelines we have.
I mean, maybe.
That's a nice segue.
But it would be a disaster for Russia. Their activities have already been a disaster. So he wants. I think you're right. I think he does want it, but I don't think it's possible.
Yeah.
Now with the economic interdependence that all the country, I mean, if everybody in the world turned on the U.S., we wouldn't last long economically. No. It's just not possible anymore.
No, Iowa would. Well, the thing is, if we turned it, we would be able to recreate our own manufacturing, and we would have to be nice to China because they're the only ones that manufacture anything anymore. So anyway, let's move on to some pipeline talk.
What I love about the pipeline as a political issue, especially for your side of things, is the Republicans have been on this pipeline to the exclusion of all other things, and I think it's because it's such a, like pretty much everything else. It's superficial. It's like candy. It's superficially great, but the ill effects aren't immediately noticeable until you have too much of it. But the way that people are proposing to do it runs completely counter to a lot of conservative ideals about private property. So, Doc, what do you want to talk about when you talk about the pipeline?
Well, first of all, everybody keeps going after the Koch brothers and they're an evil empire and the rest of it simply because they don't give to the liberal left, right? Here's part of the problem. If you look at a map of how many pipelines that there are in the U.S., I mean, it's almost as bad as having freeways. I mean, that's how much it is. Now, Ed's out here doing this pipeline walk, and I'm hoping to get him on the show, at least give him a call, have him call in next week. One of the things that he found out is the Koch brothers already have a pipeline that runs roughly parallel to the one that they're proposing. And apparently the problem is shooting Bakken oil sands down to the Gulf Coast rusts out the inside of the pipe, and it creates leaks and can be dangerous. So what they're really wanting to do is create a different pipeline. The question is why don't you just tear up the old pipeline that you have and go from there? Well, apparently that really adds the expense because you have the EPA coming along, right? The other thing is these pipelines don't just shoot oil down there. They shoot all kinds of everything. They shoot something down. They send a spritz of water down the pipe to clean it out, and then they send the next thing down the pipeline. The trick is in order to be able to do this, you have to have a complicity from the government, from the state of Iowa, to be able to take your land through eminent domain. And part of the thing is, at least according to Ed, is the Koch brothers are showing up with all these slick, Wall Street type of dudes, and they're saying, if you don't sell it to us, we'll just have the governor do eminent domain. That's basically what they're saying. Now, I don't know if the governor really is going to be doing this, but it brings up this subject. For me, I think doing a pipeline is much safer than transporting it by rail. If you look at how many pipelines bust, right, and you hear about that versus how many times you see a train derail, it's far more frequent. But the trick is, it's safer to do the pipeline, but I don't want people threatened, and I don't think eminent domain is the way to go about this. Now, why don't you explain a little bit about what an eminent domain is?
Well, eminent domain is under a long tradition, a long legal tradition that I'm not going to bore you guys with, going back into the old days in England. Eminent domain is the concept that the state is the holder of all property, and that it can do with it, that we have private property rights only in so much as the state grants them. And you can see that if you look back in a property abstract where the original land was a grant from the U.S. government or from the state or whatever it happens to be. And so if something comes along that benefits, or it's argued that it's a benefit to the good of the general good of the population as opposed to just the private ownership, the government can come in and take that land through eminent domain, providing compensation, what they deem to be reasonable compensation, because you don't just get to steal stuff in this country, but providing reasonable compensation to the private owner, but then that owner is divested of the property they've held, and it's turned into a commercial district or a pipeline or an industrial park or whatever it happens to be to provide arguably a greater benefit to a greater number of people than that property was in the hands of just one or two others.
All right,
folks.
So what's your feelings about the pipeline?
Well, if we're talking about the Keystone XL oil pipeline,
specifically but pipelines in general.
It's just we have this infrastructure that has been in place for a long time that breaks down. And then the problem with pipelines just in general is that you can talk that when they break down, they're harder to clean up. They contaminate watersheds. We're having a huge water crisis in the west of the country anyway, and contaminate all kinds of different things. Do we need them? I suppose we do, but I wish that there was more accountability. I wish that there was more oversight of these folks, because like Ed's been walking these things and they're all over the place. Like you said, almost as many as freeways. And that should be scary to a lot of folks where they bought the land and didn't know there was a pipeline in there in the first place.
All right. Well, we're going to be back right after this break. We have a caller. You called just wrong time. When we get back, we're going to find out who it is and what they want to say. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll be back right after this break.
Bertroche and Associates will provide you with a friendly, caring, and confidential place to find help for mental health concerns. We are ready for your call. We are proud to work with military personnel and their families. Our doctor, Dr. J. Patrick Bertroche, provides a full range of psychiatric services for children, adolescents, and adults in a forthright and informative manner while maintaining a casual, comfortable, and relaxed atmosphere. Our licensed mental health therapists provide individual counseling to children, adolescents, and adults, including couples and marital counseling. Visit our website at bertroshandassociates.com for more information or call 515-334-9484. Our offices are located at 5525 Meredith Drive in Des Moines, just east of Skate North off Merle Hay Road. Isn't it time to talk to someone? Take care of yourself and your family. Contact Bertrosh and Associates.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for sticking around for the last 10 minutes, and I'm glad that it is the last 10 minutes because we got a caller on the phone. Doc, why don't you bring him in?
Well, apparently it is my brother Joe. Hey, Joe, how you doing?
Well, don't sound so excited.
How you been? How's things up there in Cedar Rapids?
Very good. Well, we're nice and warm here. We're in a warm front, and you guys are in the cold.
Yeah, we're getting rained on.
You're going to be getting it next.
Yeah, I wanted to call a couple times. One, Lefty, I can't believe you said Lyndon B. Johnson was the most popular president since Clinton. And LBJ
Democratic.
Yeah, but no one liked LBJ. That's why he didn't run again.
Well, he won the biggest landslide in electoral history in 1964.
Yeah, so, that's because of President Kennedy passed away, and there was no one else to.
Well, that still shows some popularity.
Yeah, but what my point is simply that
he was not very popular after he was president.
Because that was mainly because of the Vietnam War. But then the only other Democratic president we had before Clinton was Jimmy Carter, and we all know how that worked out.
Yeah,
I thought he was one of your idols.
Well, he is now, but certainly not when he was president.
No, I have a problem with Jimmy Carter simply because there's his anti-Israel stance. However, I didn't call on that.
Mm-hmm.
The problem I have with this whole pipeline issue is, number one, Blake, I don't think it's fair that you are characterizing the Republicans as being focused on this pipeline. If you recall, Mary Landrieu out of New Orleans,
who's not in office anymore.
Yeah, but she pushed through the pipeline request along with some other Democrats to save her seat.
Yep.
And so it was all driven by the Democrats at that time. But I think that the eminent domain issue is a red herring. We have an Interstate 380 that is kind of cattywampus. In order to build Interstate 380 from Waterloo and then on to Cedar Rapids and then from Waterloo up to Mason City, they had to run some diagonal roads, and that was all done by eminent domain.
Mm-hmm.
We did Interstate 20 that went across the state east to west. Again, that's through eminent domain. If it's for the betterment of the public as a whole, then eminent domain is the only way to do it.
Right.
And we've allowed through the Supreme Court eminent domain if they think they can increase the tax base.
Mm-hmm.
There's a New Jersey case on that. But
I'm not arguing the validity of the law.
I think the other thing is your indication that the pipeline, when it breaks down, is more difficult to clean up is absolutely wrong. I have actually been to Alaska, and we've seen the actual pipeline up in the Fairbanks area. And that pipeline has been in existence for 25, 30 years. They've not had any problems with that pipeline. And if they are, you would have heard about it. So I don't know how you can allege that the pipeline, once they are damaged, is a problem. Now, we've had the Exxon Valdez issue with the tankers. The tankers and the railroads are much more dangerous. And I would rather have eminent domain imposed on a scattering of farmers than to have continual catastrophic events through railroads. And you know who one of the biggest railroad tycoons is these days, and that's Warren Buffett, who's a buddy of the president.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's got a little bit to do with keeping the pipeline from being built, too.
That's rather interesting information. However, let me say this out here for a second. Jason sent this text. apparently there has been $6.3 billion in property damage caused by 2.5 million barrels of hazardous liquid spilled. And since we were talking about the pipelines, I'm going to assume that was about the pipeline. Part of the problem with the pipeline is it's when you have a train derail, you'll have 4 or 5 tanker cars that cause a problem. When you have a pipeline spill, and these are contained in thousands of barrels of oil. When you have a pipeline bust, that problem then escalates quite a bit because now you're going to hundreds of thousands of barrels of oil before they can get the entire pipeline shut down, and that's part of the problem. The other thing is if you develop a small leak that's not detected, it's just like a slow, like if your bathroom sink gets a leak and it's upstairs, after a while you got a heck of a mess. It's the same kind of concept. So even though it happens much less frequently, when it does happen, it's really catastrophic. So
I don't know where you get that data from, and obviously you and I differ on some places where you get your data, especially on global warming.
Talking to me?
You.
Oh, well, it's for the National NOAA and NASA and Nat Geo.
Yeah, and you also need to realize who's in charge of that, and every one of these guys is a political operative and have a agenda to ensure that global climate change is continued to be in the forefront. And I don't have the text message I sent you right in front of me because I'm talking to you, but I gave you the name of the guy that was in charge of NOAA, and he's a very much of a climate.
Well, you and I are both climate change skeptics. I was just telling you, you want to know where he got the information. That's where he got the information. You and I are on the same side as far as the climate change stuff, because that's one of the things Blake and I are going to argue about after the show.
Well, so I hope you don't argue because I don't know if Blake can stand up to your withering cross-examination because you are an attorney in a doctor's outfit.
Yeah, is that it? Is that it? Well, I think that's why we get along so well, because we don't do it here, but there's a lot of conversations where it's solid 2 hours of back and forth. So, and then every once in a while I have to say, well, ask and answered, counselor.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Well, and again, you had some good points tonight, and we're getting off topic of what I was calling about, but that, again, the pipeline issue, if you can point to a pipeline spill in Alaska, then I could buy it. That had more people upset about that. It's not had any impact on the wildlife. When I've been up there, you can see thousands of caribou running around, and the pipeline's right there. It's a little odd looking because you're out in the middle of nowhere. And Alaska truly is probably like Russia, the last frontier.
Well, the point that I was making, Joe, if I could, before we run out of time, not necessarily about the use of eminent domain, and I certainly would not argue about its status in the law. Absolutely not. But I do find it interesting don't you find it an inconsistency, or at least an interesting difference, that there are conservatives pushing for the pipeline who would not be in favor of eminent domain?
Yeah, but those would be more or less people like Rand Paul and more libertarian in bent. I wouldn't say they're conservative necessarily. I also find it always unusual that the conservatives are more police-oriented and
right
in that way, because I think our founding fathers would be rolling over in their graves with some of the positions of our conservatives on giving police more and more authority.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
But
we have to wrap up, Joe. We got about a minute left.
I'm just going to tell you just one more good thing, so we end on a positive note. And I won't ask you where you're playing, Blake, because Adam or Pat can ask you that.
I'll be in your neck of the woods, though, buddy. I'll be down in Washington on Saturday. I know that's far away from you, but at least I'll be on the eastern side.
Good, because there's a place I can buy some peanuts on the way down there.
There you go.
Right.
Highway 1.
All right. Thanks a lot, Joe, for calling in.
All right. See you later.
Talk to you later. All right. Well, that was fairly interesting. Thanks to my brother Joe for calling in, because he is a faithful listener, and if I had the agility of a monkey, I could have done that better. Anyway, we want to thank everybody for tuning in. I'm just going to point out this stupid Facebook meme. they add up how much it costs for the first family to go anywhere.
Yep.
It's the way it is. It's the way it is. How you expect these guys just to ride, and coach, carry the nuclear football next to them?
Right.
What do you expect?
The president.
These people are targets.
Yeah. And not just the president, his wife and his kids.
All of them. Because I'm going to tell you, I didn't truly have an appreciation. I know I always wanted to protect the president and his family. I think that's good stuff. I had no appreciation until little old me ran for Congress, and the amount of fear and threats against myself and my family it generated. Just me. All right? So I can't imagine what these guys are going through. I don't have a problem paying for that. Maybe as often as they take a vacation, that might be it. But they're entitled to protection, which is the majority. And
I would say, and I would echo that. I would support that, and I would say I would wonder if these folks are younger. Go ask somebody my dad's age. My dad turns 64 this year. Go ask somebody my dad's age about when Kennedy got shot and how horrible that was for the entire country, no matter what your political position was.
Absolutely.
We don't want that to happen to any president ever again.
Or their family.
Or their family. Absolutely.
Now you're playing in Washington.
Yep, I got a gig down in Washington, Iowa on Saturday. I think that's going to be like an 8 to 10, 8 to 11 affair. But then I got a lot of stuff TBD in April and May.
All right.
Yeah.
We want to thank everybody for tuning in. The Fat Boy Challenge is on. It's 6 weeks. Whoever hits 10 pounds lost first wins. And I'm hitting the weight loss clinic tomorrow.
Oh, hey. I guess we'll talk about the rules off the air.
All right. Thanks a lot, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
Hi, I'm Representative Tom Shaw, and I love these guys. Both of them.
Love these guys. Get over here. Love both of them.